Tonight you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to stop trying for a while. You may be lying in bed. You may be sitting in a chair. You may be listening with your eyes half closed. Wherever you are, let this be your small temple, not a grand building, just a simple, quiet place. A room where nothing is demanded from you. Take a very easy breath in. Do not force it. Just notice the air entering your body, then notice the breath leaving again. Like a wave that reaches the shore and then slides back into the sea, your breath arrives and then returns. There is nothing wrong with you if your thoughts are busy. There is nothing wrong with you if your chest feels tight or your shoulders feel heavy or your heart feels afraid. The Buddha taught that there are two friends in meditation. The first friend is stopping. The second friend is looking deeply. Plum Village. Stopping does not mean you become blank. Stopping means you stop running away from yourself. For a few moments, you stop chasing after the next thing. You stop fighting what is here right now. So for now, you do not need to improve. You do not need to fix your life. You do not need to solve any old story. You only need to sit here with your own breathing. You only need to lie here with your own body. Bring your attention to the top of your head. Imagine that someone is gently placing a warm cloth there. It is soft and light. The warmth spreads slowly across your scalp. Any tightness begins to loosen. Let that feeling of warmth travel down to your forehead. All the little lines from worry and effort can soften. The muscles around your eyes can rest. You do not have to keep watch anymore. Nothing here is dangerous. Feel the warmth slide down over your cheeks. Your jaw can unclench. Your tongue can rest in the bottom of your mouth. You do not need to speak. You do not need to answer anyone. The warmth flows down your neck. Your throat opens like a small gate. Imagine it is easy to breathe. You can swallow gently and feel that you are safe in your own body. Your shoulders drop a little. Perhaps they have been lifted up for many days trying to carry everything and everyone. Let them be heavy now. Let gravity hold them for you. Feel the weight move down through your arms, down to your hands. Your hands have done so much. They have held tools and phones and doors and maybe other hands. Now they do not have to hold anything. You can place them wherever they feel most at ease. On your belly, by your sides, on a blanket. Notice your chest rising with the in-breath, falling with the out-breath, like a small boat lifting and lowering on gentle waves. Then notice your back, from your neck to your lower spine. If you are against a mattress or a chair, feel that surface holding you, supporting you. You do not have to stay upright by effort alone. Let the warm cloth of awareness move through your belly. This is a tender place. Many fears hide here, many memories. As you breathe in, say silently, "Hello, my soft belly." As you breathe out, "Thank you for holding so much." Let your hips sink deeper into the bed or the chair. Your thighs, your knees, your calves, your feet, let them all be heavy. You are like a small stone resting safely at the bottom of a clear stream. The water moves around you, but the stone does not need to move. When muddy water is left still, it slowly becomes clear. In the same way, when your body is allowed to be still, your mind can begin very gently to clear by itself. Facebook. You do not have to force clarity. You only offer stillness. Tonight we will walk together through stories from the Zen and Buddhist tradition. Stories of lakes and rivers, of gardens, mountains, and the silent moon. Stories of people who were tired, worried, and full of questions just like you may be now. As you listen, you do not have to remember every detail. You do not even need to listen with your thinking mind. Let the stories flow over you like warm water. Let them soak into you like gentle rain into dry earth. At any point, if sleep wants to come, you can let go and follow it. The stories do not mind. They are happy to continue without you. For our first story, imagine a small village nestled between low mountains. There is a lake beside the village, round and calm like a mirror of the sky. On the shore of that lake lives an old woman. Her name is Fumiko. Tonight we will sit with her by the water's edge. Fumiko has lived beside the lake for many years. Her house is simple, wooden walls, a roof that sings softly when the rain comes. By day, she tends a small garden. She hangs laundry in the wind. She talks to the neighbors in a quiet voice. But at night, something changes. Her thoughts turn loud. Her heart beats faster. She lies awake and stares at the dark ceiling. She worries about her children, who now live in distant cities. She worries about money. She worries about growing old, about becoming a burden, about dying alone. One evening, unable to rest, she wraps a shawl around her shoulders and walks down the narrow path to the lake. The moon is rising. The water shines like a sheet of soft silver. Crickets sing in the grass. Fumiko sits on a flat stone by the shore. She looks at the lake. It should be peaceful, but inside she feels like a storm. As she watches, a breeze passes over the water. Waves appear, little ones at first, then bigger. The moon's reflection breaks into pieces. Fumiko sighs. That is my mind, she thinks, always disturbed, never quiet. I will never learn to be calm. Footsteps sound on the path behind her. She turns and sees a monk walking slowly toward the lake. His robe moves with each step like soft cloth in the wind. He carries no bag. He has no umbrella. Only a small lantern that glows like a firefly. He bows to Fumiko with a gentle smile, then sits down on another stone nearby. They sit in silence for a while. The kind of silence that does not press or demand. The silence of two people who share the same night. At last the monk speaks. The lake is very honest tonight, he says. Fumiko frowns. Honest? How can water be honest? The monk points to the restless surface. Look, he says, when the wind touches it, the lake does not pretend. It does not try to hide the ripples. It simply shows them. When the wind fades, the lake does not cling to the waves. They settle on their own. Fumiko looks again. The wind has already grown softer. The waves are smaller now. The moon is beginning to come together again, a single bright circle on the water. I wish my mind were like that, she says. It is always noisy, always remembering, always worrying. Even when I lie down at night, it keeps moving. The monk listens carefully. He does not hurry to answer. His face is kind and his eyes are clear. Finally, he asks, when you say my mind, what do you mean? Fumiko blinks. No one has asked her this before. I mean all these thoughts. The worries, the fears, the pictures from the past, the plans for tomorrow, they never stop. The monk nods. These are thoughts, he agrees. But are you sure that you are only the thoughts? She hesitates. I don't know, she answers. They feel like me. The monk picks up a small stone and tosses it into the lake. Circles spread out from where it falls. The moon breaks once more. Tell me, he says, is this lake only the ripples? Fumiko shakes her head. Of course not. The lake is also the deep water underneath, the water that the eye cannot see from here. Exactly, the monk says softly. The lake has a surface that moves. It also has a depth that stays calm. Your mind is like that too. The thoughts, the worries, the stories are ripples. But you are not only the ripples. You are also the deep, quiet water underneath. The clear space that can hold everything. Plum Village +1. Fumiko stares at the lake. She tries to imagine the cold, still water at the bottom. Fish resting between stones. Plants swaying slowly, untouched by the wind above. How do I reach that depth? She whispers. How do I stop the waves? The monk smiles. You do not need to stop the waves, he says. That would be like trying to force the wind to change. Waves are natural when there is wind. Thoughts are natural when there is a human brain. What you can do is remember the depth. You can rest as the lake itself, not as a single ripple. He invites her to close her eyes. You can do this too, he says, if you wish. If you are listening now, you can let your own eyes close or keep them soft and half open. Either way is fine. Imagine, the monk continues, that your body is this whole lake. Your skin is the shore. Your thoughts and feelings are the wind on the surface. I first feel the surface. Notice how the breath moves your chest. Notice any feelings in your heart. Maybe there is sadness. Maybe there is fear. Maybe there is a little joy. Do not push anything away. Fumiko feels a tightness in her chest. Her throat trembles. Tears press behind her closed eyes. The surface is allowed to move, the monk says gently. It is allowed to be wild. You do not need to fight it. Then he lowers his voice. Now imagine that a part of your attention drops a little deeper. Like a small stone sinking through the water, it passes below the waves, below the froth. It keeps going until it reaches very still water. Down here there is less sound. Things move slowly, it is quiet. Not empty in a cold way, empty in a peaceful way. As Fumiko listens, she feels something shift inside. It is not dramatic, no bright light, no sudden vision. It is more like the feeling of finally sitting down after a long day of standing. Or the feeling of setting down a heavy bag you did not know you were carrying. Her thoughts have not disappeared. They still swirl above like waves on the upper layer of her lake. But part of her, some deeper place she cannot name, feels a little more spacious. A little less cramped. She is not only the storm, she is also the space that holds the storm. The monk lets the silence stretch. Crickets sing. The water laps softly at the stones. The air smells of damp earth and pine. You see, he says, your depth was always there. We did not create it tonight. We only remembered it. Each time you cannot sleep, you can come back to this lake. Even if you remain in your bed, you can visit the depth within. You can allow the surface of the mind to be as noisy as it needs to be while you rest as the water beneath. Fumiko opens her eyes. The moon is whole again on the water. The waves have almost stopped. Thank you, she whispers. The monk stands. He bows to her, bows to the lake, and then walks back along the path, his lantern floating away like a small star. Fumiko stays on the stone for a long time. When she finally returns to her house, her steps are slow and calm. That night, she still has thoughts. She still remembers her worries. But now between the thoughts she feels small spaces of quiet, like clear pools between rocks in a mountain stream. As you lie here, you can feel the same. You do not have to make your mind perfect. You only remember the lake. You only rest as the depth, while the surface does what it does. Far from Fumiko's village, an island lies out in a wide river. It is not large. From the shore it looks like a green leaf floating on water. On this island, a small retreat center sits among trees. Monks and lay people come here when their lives feel tangled. They come when they are tired of their own stories and long for a simpler way of being. One day, a young woman named Ayami arrives. She steps off the boat with a heavy backpack and an even heavier heart. In her city life, Ayami is known as someone important. She has a title. People depend on her. Her phone never seems to rest. On the island, the first thing the teacher does is take her phone and place it in a locked wooden box. For the next 3 days, he says, this will stay closed. Ayami feels a flash of panic. Without the device, she does not know who she is supposed to be. She is shown to a simple room. White walls. A window that looks out over reeds and water. No television, no computer. Only a thin mattress, a blanket, and a small writing desk. On the desk lies a blank notebook. Next to the notebook, a pen. After the evening meal, Ayami meets the teacher under a willow tree. He is an older monk, with deep lines at the corners of his eyes that look like the marks of much smiling. He asks her why she has come. Ayame tries to explain. Her words come out in a rush. She talks about deadlines and expectations. She talks about the pressure to perform, to be seen as strong, to always know the answer. She speaks of nights when she sits on the floor of her apartment and feels nothing. No joy, no tears, only a numb gray fog. She lowers her head. In those moments, she says, I ask myself, who am I if I am not my job, not my success, not my social media profile, and I do not know. The teacher listens without interrupting. At last, he says, this island is a good place to forget who you think you are and to remember something deeper. He takes the blank notebook from her desk and places it gently in her hands. And for the next days, he continues, I have a small experiment for you. Each morning, walk to the far side of the island. Sit near the water. Open this notebook. Keep the pen in your hand. Your task is simple. Do not write anything. Do not try to fill the pages. Just sit with the book open on your lap and look at the river, the sky, the reeds, and the clouds. When thoughts come, notice them. Do not push them away, but do not let them spill onto the page. And the notebook is your mirror of the mind. Let it stay as empty and wide as the sky above you. Ayame feels confused. What is the point of a notebook that I do not write in? She asks. The teacher smiles. Most of your life you have been writing and rewriting your story. That story is heavy. Here, for a little while, you practice being a page before the words appear. The next morning she does as he suggests. She walks along the narrow path to the far side of the island. Mist rises from the surface of the river. Dew glitters on spider webs strung between the grass stems. She sits on a flat rock, opens the notebook, and holds the pen. At once, thoughts begin to march across her mind. I should write something wise. I should write a plan for my life. I should make a list of my problems. Her fingers itch to move the pen. The blank page seems to stare at her with silent judgment. But she remembers the teacher's words, so she simply watches the urge to write. She watches it arrive, peak, and fade. A heron flies low over the water, its wide wings moving slowly. She notices the sound of them cutting the air. The river flows on, never the same from one moment to the next, yet always itself. 3 mornings pass in this way. At first, the practice feels like torture. Ayame is used to filling space with activity, filling silence with words. But little by little, something softens. On the second day, she notices that the sky looks different every time she lifts her eyes. Clouds appear and vanish. Light shifts on the water. On the third day, she notices that her thoughts are also always changing. They come and go. No single thought can stay forever. The notebook remains empty, but inside she begins to feel more space. She realizes that she has spent many years believing that she is the story on the page. The job title, the social image, the opinions others hold about her. Now she begins to touch what existed before the story, the clear page itself. At the end of the retreat, she returns the notebook to the teacher. He flips through the pages. They are as white as new snow. Perfect, he says. You have written the most important thing. You have discovered that your true nature is not the sentences written about you. It is the open, aware space that can hold any sentence and still stay free. When you go back to the city, you will take on roles again. You will use your skills, care for your projects, respond to messages. But now, from time to time, you can rest as the blank page. You can remember that no story, no success, no failure can define you completely. As you listen to this, you can feel the same truth in yourself. Underneath all the stories in your mind, there is a simple awareness that is always here. Before you say, I am this, I am that, there is just the quiet knowing, I am. You do not need to force this insight. You only need to notice that awareness is present even now while you listen. You may be tired, you may be peaceful, you may be restless. Yet something in you is aware of tiredness, aware of peace, aware of restlessness. That awareness is like the blank page. It does not become stained permanently by what it holds. It simply allows everything to appear and then fade. On the mainland, far upstream from Ayame's island, a wide river bends around a small temple. The temple stands on a low hill with steps of stone that lead down to the water's edge. Every morning before the sun rises above the trees, a young monk named Haru walks down those steps. He carries a wooden bucket in each hand. His task is simple: collect water from the river for the day. For many months, Haru has done this without much thought. He fills the buckets, he climbs the steps, he sweeps the courtyard. He repeats the work again and again. But lately, Haru has felt tired in his heart. Not the kind of tired that sleep can fix, a deep, heavy tiredness. He feels worn out by his own emotions. Sometimes he is full of joy and energy. Sometimes he is full of anger and doubt. Sometimes he feels nothing at all. He wonders, why am I never steady? Why do I change from one mood to another so quickly? Will I ever become calm and stable? One morning, as he kneels by the river, he notices something he has never really seen. In the clear water, shapes rest on the riverbed, smooth stones. Some are small enough to fit in a child's hand. Some are large, like sleeping animals. The water moves around them. Currents twist and dance. Leaves float past. Small fish flash like silver shadows. The stones do not move. They stay where they are. Year after year, the water keeps flowing, yet the stones rest in their place. Haru fills his buckets, but his eyes keep returning to that picture. Moving water, still stones. Later that day, he finds the abbot in the garden. The old man is trimming dry branches from a plum tree. Master, Haru says, I feel as if the river inside me is always wild. I wake up peaceful. Then someone says a harsh word and my peace vanishes. Another day I wake up full of doubt, then one small success makes me feel proud. I feel like I am nothing but changing water. I want to be steady like a mountain, but I do not know how. The abbot listens with a soft smile. What did you see at the river this morning? He asks. Haru blinks in surprise. How did you know I noticed something? The abbot taps the branch in his hand. Your questions today are like fresh cuts on this tree, he says. They show that something new has been exposed. Haru thinks of the stones under the water. He describes them. He explains how they stay still while the water moves. The abbot nods. This is a good image, he says. Sit with me a while. They sit at the base of the tree. Birdsong rises and falls in the garden. Bees move from flower to flower. The abbot speaks in a slow, even voice. In each of us there is water, he says. Feelings, thoughts, memories, they flow and change. Then one morning you are happy. By midday you are sad. The next day you are excited, then bored. Like a river, your inner world never stops moving. This change is not a problem by itself, it is natural. Trouble comes when you say, I am the water, I am this anger, I am this fear, I am this joy. When you believe this, you rise and fall with every small wave. You are thrown about by every current. Life feels unsafe. Haru nods. That is how I feel, he says. Every mood pushes me. The abbot reaches down and picks up a small stone from the garden path. He turns it slowly in his hand. In each of us, he continues, there is also stone, not a hard, cold stubbornness, a deep, quiet ground. It is the part of you that simply knows, the part that can watch feelings rise and fall without becoming the feelings. When you sit and breathe, when you see clearly, you are touching the stone within. You do not need to stop the water. You only need to remember that you are also the riverbed. He presses the stone into Haru's palm. Tomorrow morning, he says, when you go to the river, take this stone with you. Sit at the edge of the water. Place one hand in the current. Hold the stone in the other hand, resting on your knee. Notice the difference. One hand will feel constant movement. The other will feel solid, still and firm. Practice remembering that both are part of you. The next morning, Haru does as he is told. The air is cool, mist rests low above the river. He sits on a flat rock by the shore. He places his left hand in the water. The current tugs at his fingers, small waves slap his wrist. The water is never the same from one moment to the next. In his right hand, he holds the stone. It presses into his skin with a steady weight. It does not jump or twist or pull. Haru closes his eyes. In my left hand, he whispers, I feel the world of change. In my right hand, I feel something stable. Both belong to me. I am not only the movement, I am also the stillness. As he breathes in, he feels the cool water move. As he breathes out, he feels the warm stone rest. Time passes quietly, the sky brightens. Somewhere behind him, monks are beginning to wake. In his mind, memories rise. Moments of pride, moments of shame, old arguments, old joys. He lets them flow through like fish in the water. He does not try to catch them, he does not push them away. He also becomes aware of something else. There is a simple knowing that watches all of this. A presence that is not carried away by each thought. It feels like the steady weight of the stone, quiet, clear, unafraid. The water in his left hand continues to move, but it no longer scares him. He knows that he can return to the stone in his right hand whenever he wishes. He opens his eyes. A soft peace has settled over his chest. Not a dramatic peace. Not the peace of a problem solved forever. A gentle, ordinary peace. The kind that says, change is allowed. I do not need to be afraid of it. As you listen, you can try a simple version of Haru's practice. Imagine that one side of your body is like the river. All your feelings and thoughts move there. They swirl, they twist, they rise, they fall. Now imagine that the other side of your body is like the stone. Steady. Present. Not frozen, but grounded. Take a slow breath in. As you breathe in, say silently, feeling the movement. Take a slow breath out. As you breathe out, say silently, resting in the ground. You do not have to get this perfect. You do not have to stop your thoughts. You only practice remembering that you are more than any single wave. When life pulls you one way, then another, you can think of Haru at the river. You can feel your own inner stone, the place in you that does not fall apart with every mood. If sleep begins to touch you now, you can let it come. Let your thoughts keep flowing like water while some deep place in you rests like the riverbed itself. Behind the temple on the hill there is a garden. Not a grand garden with many statues, a simple one. Paths of sand, beds of herbs, a few fruit trees that offer blossoms in spring and sweet gifts in autumn. This garden is tended by an old monk named Isamu. No one knows exactly how long he has cared for it. He moves among the plants as if he has always been there, like one more tall, quiet tree. One day, a visitor arrives at the temple. Her name is May. May is exhausted. She has tried many ways to change herself. She has tried to cut off her anger. She has tried to force herself to be positive. She has read many books, watched many videos, attended many retreats, yet her habits remain. She still speaks harshly when she feels hurt. She still runs back to old comforts when she feels afraid. She thinks, maybe I am broken, maybe I cannot grow. The abbot sends her to the garden. Help Isamu for a while, he tells her. Let the plants teach you what words cannot. May finds Isamu kneeling in the soil, pulling up small weeds. He looks up and smiles. His smile is slow and wide, like a door opening. You must be our new guest, he says. Welcome. Today you will be my helper. He hands her a small rake. He shows her how to loosen the soil between rows of young vegetables. They work in silence for some time. The sun warms their backs, birds hop in the branches above them. After a while, May blurts out, I want to become a better person, but I always fail. Isamu continues to rake. He does not rush to reply. Finally, he looks up and says, What do you mean by better? May sighs. I want to be patient, kind, calm. Instead, I get angry, impatient, lazy. It is like I am a garden of weeds. No matter how many I pull out, they grow back. Isamu chuckles softly. That is funny, he says, because when I look at you, I see a garden of many seeds waiting for a gardener who listens. He leads her to a corner of the garden where a small plum tree stands. Its trunk is thin but strong. Its branches carry both blossoms and tiny green fruit. When I first came here, Isamu says, this tree was very small, the soil was poor, there were weeds all around. I could have shouted at it for being weak. I could have told it to hurry up and make fruit. But would that have helped? Mee shakes her head. Of course not, she says. What did the tree need? Isamu asks. It needed good soil, May answers slowly. Water, light, time, care. Isamu nods. Exactly. Now look at your own heart. You say you are full of anger, impatience, laziness. But have you ever listened to what your heart needs in order to grow in a different way? Or have you only shouted at it, the way a foolish gardener shouts at a tree? May feels a tightness in her eyes. She blinks back tears. She thinks of all the times she has called herself names. All the times she has decided she is hopeless. I do speak to myself like an enemy, she admits. Isamu bends down and scoops a handful of soil. Feel this, he says. She holds out her palm. The earth is cool and slightly damp. This soil, he says, contains many things, old leaves, broken bits of plant, even waste. But from this mix, new life grows. In the same way, your past pains, your mistakes, your difficult feelings can all become food for understanding and compassion if you treat them well. You do not change a garden by hating it. You change it by showing up day after day with gentle hands. He points to a patch nearby. Half of it is wild, full of tall weeds. The other half is neat with small green shoots in straight lines. This area was once all weeds, he says. Did I transform it in one day? May laughs. Of course not, she says. Each morning, Isamu explains, I pulled a few weeds. I loosened a little soil. I added a small amount of compost. I planted a few seeds. Not much if you judged any single morning. But over many mornings, the garden changed. Your heart is the same. You do not need to be perfect today. You do not need to remove every weed at once. You only need to practice small acts of care again and again. May looks at the neat half of the patch. She looks at the wild half. Then she looks within herself. She sees the places where anger springs up like sharp grass. She sees the spots where fear builds thick, tangled vines. She also sees, a little shy and small, places where kindness already lives like tiny green shoots just breaking through. Where do I begin? She asks softly. Isamu places a gentle hand on his own chest. Begin here, he says. When anger arises, do not throw more anger on top. Do not say, I am terrible for feeling this. Instead, be like a patient gardener. Notice the weed. Touch it with awareness. Ask, what do you need, my anger? What are you trying to protect? Often you will find a small hurt feeling underneath. Loneliness, shame, fear. That hurt place needs the water of kind attention, not the fire of more self-hatred. They return to their work. As May rakes and pulls weeds, she sees each plant with new eyes. A tall, stubborn stem becomes a picture of one of her old habits. A soft new sprout becomes a picture of her wish to be gentle. With every handful of weeds she lifts, she whispers inside, it is all right that this was here. Now I choose to clear a little space. The sun rises higher, sweat beads on her forehead. Her back aches a little. But there is a quiet joy in the work. When the bell rings for lunch, she looks back at the bed they have cleared. It is not perfect. Some weeds remain. But she can already see where new seeds will go. Isamu follows her gaze. This is enough for today, he says. Tomorrow we will continue. Transformation is slow like the turning of seasons. You are not a broken machine that needs to be fixed at once. You are a living garden that needs patience, listening, and daily care. As you lie here now, you can take in his words. You do not have to rebuild your life in one night. You do not have to become a completely different person before you are allowed to rest. Imagine that your heart is a garden. Some parts are wild, some parts are neat. Many seeds are still unseen, sleeping under the soil. With each gentle breath, you are already tending this garden. With each small moment of awareness, you are loosening the soil. When harsh thoughts arise about yourself, you can remember Isamu's plum tree. You can ask, what does this part of me need in order to grow differently? Not punishment, not harsh judgment, but steady, patient care. If your eyes feel heavy now, you can let them close more completely. You can rest like a field after the rain, soft, moist, ready for new life even if it cannot be seen yet. Your breathing is the wind that passes over your inner garden. Let it move slowly. Let it be kind. Sleep can come the way evening comes to a meadow. Not all at once, but little by little as the light fades and the crickets begin to sing. You are not behind. You are not late. You are simply a garden in the middle of its growing. And tonight you are allowed to rest. North of the temple in the garden, beyond several hills and a dark pine forest, there is a village that knows long winters. Snow lies on the roofs for many months. The river moves under a crust of ice. Children grow up knowing the crunch of frozen ground under their boots. In this village lives a man named Riku. When he was young, people said Riku had a bright laugh. They said his eyes shone when he told stories by the fire. But over the years, life brought him many heavy things. A business that failed, a friendship that broke, a love that ended without goodbye. Each time Riku told himself, I must be strong. I must not feel too much. If I feel everything, I will drown. So he learned to push his feelings down, like someone pushing clothes into an overfull chest. On the outside, he looked calm. He worked every day. He paid his bills. He answered politely when people spoke to him. On the inside, something grew numb. He no longer cried. He no longer laughed from his belly. Even when small good things happened, he felt almost nothing. At night, he lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. He did not feel fire. He did not feel water. He felt like a hard, flat stone. One winter, after a long illness, Riku's father died. Neighbors came with food and flowers. They spoke gentle words. Some cried and held each other. Riku stood by the window and watched the snow fall. He heard himself say, "It is all right, I am fine." Part of him waited for tears to come. They did not. He felt hollow, like a house with no furniture. A few days after the funeral, an old friend visited him. This friend had once been a wild boy, drinking and fighting. Now he wore simple clothes and walked with a slower step. People said he had gone to a monastery for a time. He now practiced meditation each day. His name was Gentaro. Riku made tea. They sat by the small stove. Steam rose from their cups. Gentaro looked at Riku's face for a long moment. "You have lost your father," he said softly. "How is your heart?" Riku wanted to say, "I am fine," and closed the door on the subject. Instead, the truth slipped out. "I feel nothing," he admitted. "I know I should be sad. I know I should cry. But it is like my feelings have been locked under ice for years. Sometimes I think I am no longer human." Gentaro nodded slowly. "I know that winter," he said. "I have lived inside it myself." The next day, he asked Riku to walk with him to the lake outside the village. The lake was wide and still. Its surface was frozen, a sheet of pale blue glass stretching from shore to shore. Snow rested on top in soft mounds. Bare branches reached out over the white. Gentaro stood at the edge of the ice and looked across. "This lake reminds me of you," he said quietly. Riku felt a sting in his chest. "I am that cold?" he asked. Gentaro shook his head. "Not only cold," he said, "and look more carefully." He knelt down and brushed snow away from a patch of ice. He pressed his palm against it. "Beneath this hard surface," he said, "there is water. That water did not disappear when winter came. It did not stop being water. It simply changed form. It became still and solid to survive the season. In the same way, your feelings did not die when you learned to push them down. Your heart became like this lake. It froze to protect something tender." Riku knelt beside him. He placed his own hand on the ice. It felt smooth and unbroken. "How do I melt it?" he whispered. "And do I break it with a hammer? Do I set it on fire?" Gentaro smiled a little. "If you break it with force," he said, "you may fall through too quickly. You may be flooded by more water than you can handle at once. If you set it on fire, you may burn yourself. The lake does not need violence. It needs time. It needs the warmth of the sun. It needs gentle days. The ice you feel inside is not your enemy. It was your shield. It kept you alive when there was too much pain. Now you are in a different season. Now it may be safe to let a slow thaw begin." He asked Riku to close his eyes. "Place one hand on the ice," he said, "and the other hand on your own chest." Riku did as he was told. The wind brushed his face. The air smelled clean and sharp. His fingers on the ice felt the hard cold. His palm on his chest felt the faint, steady beat of his heart. "Breathe slowly," Gentaro said. "With each breath in, say silently, 'I know you are there,' frozen feeling. With each breath out, say, 'You protected me, thank you.'" At first, Riku felt foolish. His mind wanted to argue. "This is silly," it said. "Talking to ice will not change anything." But he stayed with the practice, breath after breath. As he repeated, "I know you are there," tears began to prick his eyes. Not a flood, only a few drops. His throat tightened, his jaw trembled. The wind had not changed. The ice had not cracked, but something small was melting inside him. Gentaro's voice was soft. "When we numb our pain," he said, "then we also numb our joy. When we push away sorrow, we push away laughter. Your heart chose numbness once because it was too much to feel. Now you can choose to feel again in small, safe pieces. You do not have to dig up every buried feeling at once. You can sit as we are sitting now and simply acknowledge there is ice, there is water underneath. I will be patient." They sat in silence. Riku kept one hand on the ice, one hand on his chest. His breath moved slowly in and out. He began to remember small scenes. His father teaching him to tie a fishing line. His father's rough hands passing him a bowl of hot soup on winter nights. His eyes filled again. The tears were not wild. They were warm, like drops from a thawing icicle. He did not fight them. He let them fall. For the first time in years, the frozen lake of his heart felt a small crack, not of breaking, but of opening. Gentaro did not push him to speak. He did not ask for explanations. He simply stayed beside him, a quiet presence. After a while, they stood and walked back to the village. That night, Riku lay in bed as he always did. The ceiling was the same. The shadows were the same. But inside, something had shifted. He placed his hand over his chest as he had at the lake. He took a slow breath in. "I know you are there, frozen feeling," he whispered. He breathed out. "You protected me, thank you." A few tears slid down into his hair. They did not drown him, they did not break him. After the tears, a soft tiredness came. Not the numb tiredness of many past nights. A natural tiredness. The kind of tiredness of someone who has finally begun to put down a heavy shield. As you listen, you may recognize something of yourself in Riku's story. Perhaps you too have learned to stay numb in order to survive. You may not cry easily. You may not feel great joy. You may move through life like someone walking behind glass. There is nothing wrong with you. Your heart was trying to protect you. Tonight you do not have to tear down all your defenses. You do not have to melt every layer of ice. You can simply place a gentle hand on your own chest. If it feels right, you can whisper inside, "I know you are there, frozen places. You protected me, thank you." Your feelings may not rush up, your tears may not come. That is all right. Just as winter does not become spring in one day, your heart will not thaw in one moment. What matters is the warmth of your attention. Every time you meet yourself with kindness instead of judgment, the sun moves a little higher in your sky. Every time you say, "It was hard and I did my best," a small drop of ice becomes water again. If sleep is near, you can let it arrive like the soft snowfalls that cover a field. Your breath is the only thing you need to follow now. In, out, gentle, steady. You do not have to be more awake than you are. You do not have to be more healed than you are. You are already enough for this moment. And somewhere inside, beneath all seasons, your true heart waits. Like clear water under winter ice, ready one day to shine again. South of Riku's winter village, once the snow begins to melt and the rivers swell with cold, clear water, there is a town known for its cherry trees. In spring, people travel from far away just to walk under the pink clouds of blossoms. Petals fall like soft snow. Children laugh and chase one another through the drifting white and pink. In this town lives a young man named Fumio. Fumio is intelligent. He reads quickly. He understands ideas with ease. When he first met the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, he felt a rush of excitement. He read every book he could find. He watched talks late into the night. He underlined sentences. He filled notebooks with quotes. For a time, he believed that understanding the words was the same as living the wisdom. But as the years passed, he noticed something painful. He could explain emptiness. He could talk about compassion. He could discuss non-self and interbeing. Yet when someone insulted him, anger still rose like fire. When plans failed, disappointment crushed his chest. When he was alone at night, fear of the future still whispered in his ear. He thought, maybe I am a bad student. I know so much, but I have changed so little. One year, when the blossoms had just begun to open, a gentle teacher came to stay in a small hermitage on the hill above the town. People said he had practiced many years in both busy cities and quiet forests. His name was Kenji. Fumio climbed the hill to see him. He bowed and shared his trouble. "I am full of knowledge," he said. but my habits remain strong. How long must I practice before I become a truly peaceful person? Kenji listened with soft eyes. He walked to a small wooden box by the window of his hut. Inside lay a handful of cherry seeds. He took one seed and placed it in Fumio's palm. "I'd look closely," he said. The seed was tiny. It seemed dry and unremarkable, just a small hard thing that could be lost in a crack on the floor. "Inside this seed," Kenji said, "there is a tree. It is not only a tree, it is a whole sky of blossoms. It is the shade of branches in summer, it is fruit in autumn, it is firewood in winter. All of that is already there in a hidden form." Fumio nodded. "Yes, I know," he said. "If we plant it and care for it, one day it will grow." Kenji smiled. "And that is how you speak about your own mind," he answered. "You say, if I practice, one day I will be different. One day I will be wise and calm. You understand this with your head, but your heart is impatient. It wants the blossoms before the seed even touches soil." He led Fumio outside. Behind the hermitage, the ground was soft from recent rain. Kenji handed him a small shovel. "He planted," he said. Fumio dug a little hole. He placed the seed inside and covered it with earth. He stood back and waited, as if something might happen at once. Of course, nothing did. The ground looked exactly the same as it had before, only a little disturbed. Fumio felt a flicker of frustration. "How long will it take?" he asked. Kenji laughed gently. "Years," he said, "many seasons. The seed must split. A root must search downward. A small shoot must push upward through dark soil toward the light. Storms will bend it. Snow will weigh on it. Some years it will blossom richly. Other years late frost may burn the flowers before they open. Yet if it is cared for, if it is not cut down, if it receives enough water and light, it will slowly become a strong tree. This is how practice works too. Every time you sit and breathe, every time you choose kindness over anger, every time you notice your thinking and gently return to the present moment, you are watering the seed. You cannot see all the growth from one day to the next. But over many days, something deep is changing." Fumio looked at the patch of soil. He felt the same impatience that had often burned in his chest when progress seemed slow. "How can I trust this?" he whispered. "I have failed so many times. I have promised myself to be calm and then shouted anyway. I have promised to be generous and then clung to my comfort. What if I am a bad seed?" Kenji's face grew very tender. "There is no bad seed," he said. "There is only a seed that has been left alone too long, or has not yet met the right conditions. Your anger is not proof that you are hopeless. It is proof that your heart still cares. If you did not care, you would not suffer. Your disappointment in yourself is not a sentence. It is a sign that something in you already longs for a wiser way." They returned inside. Kenji poured tea into 2 simple cups. "The mind loves quick results," he said. "It loves big promises. It loves the idea of sudden awakening. But the body knows another rhythm. It knows growth that is slow and steady. It knows the pace of bones adjusting, of muscles strengthening, of wounds knitting closed. The Dharma respects the body's timing. So please stop demanding that your seed be a full tree today. Enjoy watering it. Enjoy watching the first tiny leaves. Enjoy noticing that this year you are a little more patient than last year, even if you still lose your temper sometimes." That evening, as the sky turned pink over the town, Fumio sat on the hill and looked over the rooftops. Children played under the cherry trees below. Blossoms moved in the wind like lanterns. He thought of the seed in the soil behind him, invisible, silent, yet full of possibility. He also thought of his own days. There had been moments when he listened fully to a friend's pain. There had been mornings when he watched his breath for a few minutes before touching his phone. These were not great achievements. They were small, quiet. Yet maybe, he thought, they were like the first root threads of a young tree. Not much to see from above the ground, but vital nonetheless. As you listen now, you can feel the same truth in yourself. You may think you have not changed. You may see only your failures, but if you look with gentle eyes, you may notice small shifts. Perhaps you pause for one breath before replying in anger. Perhaps you say sorry a little more easily than before. Perhaps you're listening to this story tonight because some part of you wants to suffer less and love more. These are all signs that the seed is alive. You do not need to force it open. You do not need to shout at it. You can simply stay with it day by day, breath by breath. When you feel impatient, you can remember Fumio and the hidden cherry seed. You can place a hand on your heart and say silently, "My practice is a tree. It grows in seasons. Tonight I water it by resting. If your eyes grow heavy, you can let them close more fully. Your bed is the soft earth. Your body is the seed. Your breath is the gentle rain. Nothing more is needed right now. You are already on the path. You are already growing even when you cannot see it." Not far from Fumio's town, beyond rice fields that mirror the sky, there is a small monastery on a hill. At night, the monks there often look up at the same thing that villagers look up at, the moon. Sometimes it is a thin, silver smile. Sometimes a white half-circle. Sometimes a brilliant disk that bathes the courtyard in light. One monk in this place knows the moon well. His name is Ichiro. Ichiro has practiced for many years. He has sat through retreat after retreat. He has fasted, studied, memorized chants. He loves the path. But lately he has felt ashamed. Some weeks he wakes before dawn with energy and joy. He works hard. He meditates with ease. Compassion flows naturally. Other weeks his body feels heavy. His mind feels dull. He wants to sleep late. He struggles to focus. He is irritated by small noises. He thinks, maybe I am not a true practitioner. A true practitioner is always strong, always clear, always full of devotion. One evening, after a day of such heaviness, Ichiro sits alone in the courtyard. Clouds drift across the sky. Between them, the moon appears and disappears. Sometimes it is bright, sometimes it is covered. He sighs. A soft voice speaks from the shadows. "It seems the moon is practicing with you tonight." Ichiro turns. The speaker is the old abbot. He walks slowly, his hands folded inside his sleeves. Ichiro bows. "Master," he says, "I am discouraged. My effort comes in waves, my energy rises and falls. I cannot keep my practice strong and steady every day. When I am full of energy, I feel worthy. When I am tired, I feel like a failure." The abbot looks up at the sky. "Tell me," he says, "how many shapes does the moon have?" Ichiro thinks. "Many," he replies, "new crescent, half, gibbous, full." "Is the moon a failure when it is thin?" the abbot asks. "No," Ichiro answers, "it is simply in a different phase." "Is it more holy when it is full and less holy when it is small?" Ichiro smiles. "Of course not," he says. "It is always the same moon, only the light we see changes." The abbot nods. "You are the same," he says gently. "Your practice has phases. Your body has rhythms. Your mind has seasons. Some days your energy is wide and bright like the full moon. You can sit long. You can help many people. Other days your energy is thin like a small crescent. You can only manage a few mindful breaths, a few kind words before you need rest. On those days you are not less worthy. You are not less sincere. You are simply in a different phase." He picks up a small bowl of water from the stone edge of the garden. "Look," he says. Ichiro leans closer. On the surface of the water the moon shines. It is cut by ripples. Sometimes the reflection breaks. Sometimes it is clear. The moon in the sky is always full, the abbot continues. It is we, here on earth, who see it as partial. Clouds pass. The angle of the sun changes, our position shifts. In the same way, your deepest nature is always whole. But your experience of yourself changes from day to day. Some days you see clearly your capacity for love, for wisdom. Other days you see only your confusion, your exhaustion. That does not mean your deepest nature has disappeared. Ichiro feels a warmth spread in his chest. So what should I do? He asks, on days when I feel like the dark moon. The abbot sits beside him. On days of bright energy, he says, you practice fully, you sit, you study, you serve others. On days of low energy, you practice gently. You may only be able to take a mindful breath while drinking tea. You may only be able to relax your shoulders before sleep. Do not punish yourself for that. Respect your rhythm. When clouds cover the moon, do we shout at the sky? No. We trust that the moon is still there. We wait. In the same way, when your mind is foggy, do not shout at yourself. Do not say, I am no good. Say instead, today is a cloudy day, I will do a small practice and rest. They sit quietly. The clouds thin. The moon grows brighter. Crickets begin to sing. As you listen, you may think of your own days. Some days you feel able to do much. You can exercise, you can be kind to many people, you can think clearly. Other days you feel slow, your body hurts, your mind drifts. You may call these days bad, but you can also see them as part of a larger cycle. You are not a machine meant to produce the same result every hour of your life. You are a living being with tides of energy, like the sea. You are a moving light with phases, like the moon. Tonight you do not need to be full. You do not need to be strong, clear, focused. You can be whatever phase you are in. If you feel bright, you can listen deeply to these words. If you feel dim, you can let them wash around you like soft sound without effort. Either way, your deepest self remains whole and untouched, like the full moon shining behind the clouds. Take one slow breath in. As you breathe in, you can silently say, in this moment, I accept my phase. As you breathe out, you can silently say, I let myself rest. If sleep wants to come, you do not need to hold it back. Let your thoughts fade like stars at dawn. Let your worries dim like lanterns at the end of a festival. The night sky needs both bright moons and dark new moons. Your path needs both high energy and deep rest. And tonight you are allowed to rest. Several seasons after he sat with Riku on the frozen lake, Gentaro returns to the little temple on the hill by the river. He has traveled many roads, through busy markets, through quiet forests, through towns where neon lights turn night into day. Wherever he goes, people carry the same questions. How can I calm my mind? How can I stop worrying? How can I find peace that does not break at the first sign of trouble? One evening, after a long walk, Gentaro arrives at the temple gates. Haru, the young monk of the river, is now a little older. His face has new lines from smiling and frowning. Isamu still tends the garden, though he moves more slowly. Fumio sometimes visits from the town of blossoms. Ayame writes now and then from the city, her letters simple and spacious. They all gather in the courtyard to greet Gentaro. They share a simple meal, rice, miso soup, pickled vegetables. Afterward, the abbot asks Gentaro to speak to a group of visitors. They have come from many distances. Some are young, tired from study and work. Some are older, tired from loss and change. All of them carry restless minds. They sit together in the hall. Candles flicker, rain taps softly on the roof. Gentaro looks at their faces. He sees fear, hope, doubt, longing. He knows these well. He has seen them in his own heart many times. He begins with a simple question. When you're thirsty, he asks, what do you do? A woman in the front says, I drink water. Gentaro smiles. And where does the water come from? From the tap, a man answers. Gentaro nods. And where does it come from before that? From rivers, someone says, from lakes, from underground springs. Gentaro's eyes shine. Yes, he says, from deep places. To drink you may only turn a handle. The water feels near, but to exist that water has traveled a long path. Rain falls, it sinks into the earth. It flows quietly under our feet through stone and soil until it reaches a place where it can rise again. He pauses. In the same way, he continues, peace is not only on the surface. On the surface there is news, messages, arguments, memories. On the surface your mind may feel like a busy market. If you look only there, you may believe there is no stillness in you at all. But underneath, deeper than your usual thoughts, there is a well of silence. It is not something you have to create. It is already there, like the underground spring. Our practice is to learn how to lower the bucket. A young man raises his hand. How do we do that? He asks. I sit to meditate and I only feel more thoughts. I get angry that I cannot be silent. Gentaro nods. This is common, he says. It is like standing at the top of a well and shouting, water, come up. But the water will not rise just because we shout. We need a rope, a bucket, and patience. In meditation, the rope is your attention. The bucket is your breath. Each time you notice thinking and gently return to the breath, you lower the bucket a little deeper. He invites them to sit comfortably. If you are lying down, he says, that's fine too. Let your back be supported, let your shoulders drop, and feel the simple weight of your body. Now place one hand over your belly and one over your heart. Your belly is the well, your heart is the rope. The hall grows quiet. Gentaro speaks softly. I breathe in and feel your belly rise under your hand. Breathe out and feel it fall. You do not need to breathe in any special way. You only need to notice. As you breathe in, say silently, lowering the bucket. As you breathe out, say silently, touching the water. They do this together for several breaths. Thoughts come. One woman remembers a task at work. A man thinks of a fight with his brother. Another mind wanders to food, to old songs, to future plans. Gentaro knows. He does not ask them to push these away. When you notice that you have gone far into a story, he says, do not be harsh. Simply smile inwardly and say, I have been walking in the market. And then come back to the well. Feel your hand on your belly. Feel the breath. Each return is one more pull on the rope. You are not failing. You are practicing. Slowly, the room's energy changes. It does not become blank, but something softens. Some people feel a small, quiet space open inside their chest, as if a crowded room has gained one clear corner. Some feel their jaw unclench, their throat loosen. Some do not feel much, but notice that the urge to check their phones has faded a little. Kentaro continues, in the beginning, he says, your bucket may come up almost empty. You may taste only 1 or 2 drops of calm. You may think this is useless, but if you keep lowering and raising, one day the bucket will bring up a full scoop of fresh, cool water. You will sit down and quite suddenly notice that there is space between your thoughts. You will walk in the street and realize you can hear birds, not only traffic. You will face a problem and feel a little more room to breathe before reacting. This is the water from your inner well. He looks around the hall. You do not have to believe me, he says. You only have to test this in your own life. Each night for a few breaths, lower the bucket. When you wake in the middle of the night and worries crowd your mind, lower the bucket. When you wait in line, when you sit on a bus, when you stand at the sink washing dishes, lower the bucket. Feel the breath, feel the body, return again and again. He smiles gently. Over time, you will know for yourself that the well is real. As you listen now, you are already practicing this. Your breath is moving in, out. You can place a hand on your belly if that feels comfortable. As you breathe in, you can whisper inside, lowering the bucket. As you breathe out, you can whisper, touching the water. You do not need to feel anything special. You may feel calm, you may feel restless, you may feel sleepy. All of that is simply the weather at the top of the well. Below, the water is still. You are not trying to stop the wind. You are learning to reach deeper than the wind can touch. If your mind wanders, it is all right. Each time you notice, you gently lead it back to the rope, to the bucket, to the breath. This is the path. No one else can walk it for you, but you do not walk it alone. The old stories walk with you. Fumiko at the lake, Ayame on the island, Haru by the river, May in the garden, Riku at the winter shore, Fumio with his hidden seed, Ichiro under the moon, Gentaro by the well. They are all parts of you. Parts that know how to suffer, parts that know how to heal. Tonight as you lie in your bed, you are the temple on the hill. Your breath is the bell that rings softly. Your heart is the lamp that glows in the window. The worries of the day can stand outside the gate for now. You can greet them tomorrow. For this moment, you are simply a body resting, a mind listening to the gentle sound of its own breathing. If sleep comes, let it come. If it takes time, rest in the well. In, out, lowering the bucket, touching the water. There is nowhere else you need to be. There is nothing else you need to do. You are already home in this breath. The rain continues through the night at the temple. It drums softly on the tiles. It runs in thin streams from the edges of the roofs. It gathers in small pools in the courtyard stones. After Gentaro finishes speaking, the visitors stay silent for a while. Some of them feel peaceful. Some feel sad. Some feel nothing at all. The abbot rings a small bell. The sound rises, hangs in the air like a clear drop of water, and then fades. People bow. They go slowly to their rooms. Only a few remain in the hall. Haru, Isamu, Fumio, and Gentaro. A single oil lamp burns on the low table. Its flame moves gently with the breath of the room. Haru speaks first. When I arrived here as a young monk, he says, I thought peace would come once I finished my training. I thought there would be a day when all doubts ended, when no anger could ever rise in me again. He smiles, a little embarrassed. Now I see the river in me still moves, but I am not so afraid of it anymore. I know I can sit by its edge. I know I can touch the stone inside. Isamu chuckles softly. When I was a novice, he says, I wanted to fix myself the way someone fixes a broken tool. I wanted to pull out all the weeds in one day. But gardens do not respond to harsh hands. They answer to patience. They answer to presence. Now each time I feel myself react with old habits, I try to see it as one more weed that has shown its face. I bow to it. I say thank you for letting me see you. Today I will loosen the soil around you a little more. Fumio looks down at his hands. I used to worship words, he says. I believed that if I collected enough wise sentences, I would be safe. And now I still love the teachings, but I also love the quiet moments when I simply breathe and do not know what to say. My seed is still small. Yet sometimes when I am listening deeply to another person, I feel a shade above us as if branches are beginning to grow. Gentaro listens to each of them. The path is one, he says softly, but the footsteps are many. Some people begin by the lake, tasting the depth beneath their waves. Some begin on the island, meeting the blank page of awareness. Some begin in the garden, learning to be a kinder gardener to their own heart. Some begin at the frozen lake, honoring the ice that once protected them. Some begin with a single seed, trusting that patience will bring growth. Some begin with the moon, accepting that their energy rises and falls. And some begin at the well, learning to lower the bucket into their hidden stillness. He looks at the small flame of the oil lamp. This lamp, he says, burns with one fire, but the light reaches many corners of the room. In the same way, there is one deep nature in you, but many ways to touch it. Outside, a gust of wind shakes drops from the eaves. The sound is like beads falling on stone. Haru asks, "Master, what would you say to someone who listens to all these stories and still feels unworthy? What would you say to someone who lies awake at night and thinks, 'This is beautiful, but not for me. I am too broken. I have gone too far from the path'?" Gentaro's eyes grow gentle. "I would tell them a story," he says. "A story about a lamp that thought its light was gone." He leans back a little, as if settling into a story he has told once before and also never told in quite this way. In a coastal town there was once a harbor full of boats. At the end of the longest pier stood a tall lamp. Every night its light turned slowly from the left to the right to the left again. Fishermen watched for this light when they came home in fog and rain. Without it they could not see the safe way into the harbor. For many years the lamp did its work. It did not complain. Its task was simple, to shine. Then one stormy season the sea was wild for many weeks. Waves crashed against the posts. Salt spray rose high in the air. Wind screamed like a living thing. The lamp felt battered, it shook in its frame. One night lightning struck nearby. The flash was blinding. For a little while the lamp's eyes saw nothing but white. "I am broken," it thought. "I have failed. The storm is too strong for me. My light is too small. It would be better if I stopped trying." The next night it refused to turn. It let its flame burn low. Ships entering the harbor had to rely on their own small lanterns. They bumped into one another. They scraped the rocks. They shouted across the dark. The lamp watched, filled with shame. "See," it thought bitterly, "I cannot help them. I am useless." An old keeper lived at the base of the pier. He had tended the lamp for decades. He cleaned the glass, he trimmed the wick, he filled the oil. That night he climbed the stairs to the lamp's chamber. He saw the weak flame. He saw the still gears. He sat down beside the lamp and placed a warm hand on its metal frame. "You look tired," he said. The lamp spoke in a small voice. "I have seen too many storms," it said. "I am rusting, my glass is scratched. My light feels tiny against such waves. Last night a bolt of lightning filled the sky with a light so fierce that I felt ashamed. How can my little flame matter when there are forces that strong? Perhaps it is better to stay dim. At least I will not fail so loudly." The keeper listened. Then he did 3 things. He wiped the glass with a clean cloth until it shone more clearly. He trimmed the wick so it would burn without smoke. He poured in fresh oil. All the while he spoke in a gentle tone. "My friend," he said, "you were never asked to be the lightning. You were asked to be the lamp. The storm is not your fault. The waves are not your fault. The confusion of the sea is not your fault. Your task is not to calm the entire ocean. Your task is to keep your small circle of light as steady as you can, night after night. Some nights your flame will be strong. Some nights it will flicker. But remember, even a small, steady light can show the way home to someone in the dark." He finished his work and stepped back. The flame, fed by new oil and freed by a trimmed wick, lifted higher. It was not as bright as the lightning from the other night, but it was warm, clear, constant. The keeper set the gears in motion. Slowly the lamp began to turn again. Left, right, left. Out in the fog a captain saw the light and released a breath he did not know he had been holding. He called to his crew. "There," he said, "the harbor. We are close now. We can rest soon." The lamp heard the voices across the water. It felt their relief. It understood then that its job was not to be perfect. Its job was to be present. Night after night, storm after storm, season after season. Not because it could fix everything, but because its very being there made a difference for someone. Gentaro finishes the story. The hall is very still. Each of you, he says, is like that lamp. You may think your light is too small, that your heart is too damaged, that your mind is too noisy. But somewhere in you there is a steady flame. You do not have to fix the storm. You do not have to calm the whole sea. You only have to care for the flame, to clean the glass when you can, to trim the wick with honest reflection when old habits smoke, to add oil by resting, by breathing, by taking in good teachings and good company. Then even on the nights when you feel weak, your presence will offer warmth to others. And on the nights when you feel strong, your presence will guide more people than you realize. He looks now not only at the visitors in the hall, but through them to you, listening wherever you are. In you who cannot sleep, he says, you who worry that you are behind, you who think you should be different by now. Please hear this. You are not required to be the lightning. You are invited to be the lamp. Outside, the rain begins to slow. Inside, many hearts feel a small warmth grow. Not the fire of excitement, the quiet ember of being accepted as they are. Gentaro stands. He bows to the abbot, to Haru, to Isamu, to Fumio, to the visitors, and to the empty spaces that will be filled by others in the future. One more practice, he says softly. A simple one for the end of the day. If you are lying down now, let your body feel heavy. Feel the weight of your head settling into the pillow. Feel the weight of your shoulders sinking into the bed. Feel the length of your spine. From the base of your skull down your neck, between your shoulder blades, along your back to your lower spine and into your hips. Your bed supports you. You do not have to hold yourself up. Feel your arms, upper arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, fingers. Let them rest as if they are tired birds returning to a safe branch after a long flight. Feel your chest. Let your breath be like a small wave. Coming in, going out. Not forced, not controlled. Simply noticed. Feel your belly rise and fall, soft, gentle. If thoughts come, let them be like distant boats on Haru's river. You see them pass, but you do not have to climb aboard. You can let them float by on their own current. Feel your hips, your thighs, your knees, your calves, your ankles, your feet, your toes. Imagine that every muscle that does not need to work is turning off like a lantern at the end of a festival, one by one, quietly, without rush. Your jaw can unclench, your tongue can rest. There is no need to speak, no need to answer messages, no need to decide anything. The day is complete enough. Even if it was messy, even if many things were left undone, you have come as far as you could today with the body and the heart that you have. That is enough. If you like, you can place a hand on the center of your chest. Feel the gentle beat there, life moving in you. You can whisper inside very softly as if talking to a small child or a frightened animal. Thank you for trying today. Thank you for carrying me through this day. Now you can rest. Let those words sink into your own heart the way rain sinks into waiting soil. You do not have to feel anything special. You do not have to feel worthy of such kindness. The words can work quietly, whether you notice it or not. Your lamp does not need your opinion to keep burning. It only needs a little care, again and again. As your breath moves, imagine that you are sinking like a stone through Fumiko's lake, down to the calm water below. Imagine you are sitting on Ayame's island, blank notebook open, sky wide above. Imagine you hear the river against Haru's stone. You smell the soil in Isamu's garden. You feel the cold air above Riku's frozen lake and the first small thaw inside his chest. You touch the secret seed in Fumio's hand. You see the changing moon above Ichiro's monastery. Sometimes full, sometimes thin, always itself. You lower the bucket with Gentaro into the deep, cool well. All these images are in you now. They are not homework. They are not tests. They are gentle doors you can step through whenever you need. Tonight, perhaps you simply stand at the threshold. You do not need to go far, only far enough to feel a little more space around your thoughts. Only far enough to feel that you and your breathing are on the same side. In, out, nothing to fix, nothing to prove. If you are still awake, that is fine. If you are drifting, that is fine. If you are already half in a dream, that is fine. The stories do not need you to stay. They will keep walking their quiet paths through the night like monks in soft sandals circling a temple. You can let go. You can sleep. The lake will remember your depth. The island will keep your open page. The river will hold your changing feelings. The garden will wait for your gentle hands. The frozen lake will thaw in its own season. The seed will open when it is ready. The moon will wax and wane. The well will stay cool and deep, and your small lamp in the house of your body will glow softly through the dark, watching over you as you finally, peacefully rest. At the temple on the hill, the rain has stopped. Clouds drift apart. Cool air slips through the cracks of paper screens. Slowly, almost shyly, the first light of morning touches the tops of the trees. In the guest rooms, some visitors are still asleep. Their breaths move softly. Their hands are loose on the blankets. Some are half awake, resting in that gentle space between dream and day. You might be in that space now too. Not fully asleep, not fully awake, floating, drifting. In one room, a young woman who cried quietly in the night now sleeps on her side, her face less tense. In another room, an older man who lay for many hours thinking of his mistakes has finally surrendered to sleep. Their stories are different, their wounds are different, but they share this fact. For one night, they allowed themselves to stop running. They listened to tales of lakes, rivers, gardens, moons, seeds, and wells. Those images settled into them like soft dust. They may not remember each detail. They may not remember each name. Yet something quiet has touched them. In the garden, Isamu rises early, as he always does. His back is stiff. His knees complain a little as he bends, but his eyes are bright and kind. He walks the paths, checking the plants after the rain. Some leaves are bent low under droplets. He shakes the branches gently so they can lift again. He does not rush. He does not hurry the work. He knows that every morning is only one step in a long friendship with this soil. At the river, Haru stands on the stone steps. Mist curls above the water, thin as breath. He lowers his buckets. He hears the splash, the soft sound of water filling the hollow wood. He feels the pull of the weight as he lifts. For a moment he pauses. He looks at the current. He thinks of all the feelings that will move through him today. Joy, annoyance, fatigue, hope. He does not try to guess them all. He only reminds himself very quietly, I am also the riverbed. On the hill above the cherry town, Kenji steps out of his small hermitage. He looks at the patch of soil where he and Fumio planted the seed. There is nothing to see on the surface yet. Just damp earth, a few stray leaves, but he smiles anyway. He trusts what he cannot see. Far away in the winter village, Riku wakes before the sun. He lies still for a moment. He notices the familiar flatness in his chest. Then he also notices something else. The memory of his hand on the ice. The sound of Gentaro's voice beside him at the lake. He places his palm on his own heart. He breathes in. I know you are there, he whispers inside. Frozen places. He breathes out. You protected me, thank you. He does not feel a great rush of emotion. He does not feel a dramatic change, only a small warmth, like the first thin ray of sun touching a hard crust of snow. In the city, Ayame's alarm begins to ring. She opens her eyes in her small apartment. The phone that once ruled her days now lives on a shelf across the room instead of on her pillow. She sits up slowly. Before she reaches for the screen, she turns her head toward the window. The sky is pale. She takes one easy breath in and one easy breath out. For a brief moment she feels again the wind on the island, the empty notebook on her lap, the simple truth that she is more than any role she plays. Then she stands, she begins her day. On the monastery hill, Ichiro ties his robe. He steps into the courtyard. Above him the moon is faint now, fading in the brightening sky. He smiles at it. Last night you were bright, he thinks. Tonight you will be different. But whatever your shape, you are still you. And whatever my energy today, full or thin, I am still on the path. Back at the temple by the river, Gentaro sits alone in the main hall. He faces the open doors. Outside, the first birds of morning are calling. Inside, the air smells of old wood and a hint of incense. He is not trying to achieve anything now. He is simply sitting, feeling his breath, feeling the quiet pulse of the world around him. A monk enters, bows, and leaves a small cup of tea by his side. Gentaro bows in return. He lifts the cup. The tea is warm. The steam rises in a thin column that disappears into the air. He takes one slow sip. In this moment, there are no stories, no teachings, no questions, just the taste of slightly bitter leaves, the heat on his tongue, the simple fact that he is alive in this breath. This too is the Dharma. Not only the words, the direct taste of life itself. As the morning grows brighter, a bell rings to wake the visitors. The sound travels through the halls. Soft, clear, kind. You might imagine that you hear it as well. A light tone, ringing once, then again. Not to disturb you, but to invite you into a new day more gently. If you are still resting, you can stay as you are. If you are half awake, you can let the sound of that imagined bell reach you like a friendly hand. It does not pull you. It only offers support if you wish to sit up or simply roll to one side and breathe a little deeper. The night that held all these stories is almost over, but the wisdom in them does not belong only to the dark. It walks with you in the light as well. Imagine now that you are leaving the temple. You stand at the gate. Behind you are the halls, the garden, the river path, the well, the rooms where people slept. Ahead of you is a road. It might be a busy city street. It might be a quiet country lane. It might be the hallway of your own home as you walk toward a kitchen or a bathroom or a desk. You do not carry a suitcase. You do not carry bags. What you carry is lighter and also more precious. You carry the feeling of the lake's depth, the knowledge that beneath every ripple there is still water. You carry the memory of the blank page, the understanding that before you say, I am this, I am that, there is a simple I am that is open and clear. You carry the sense of being both water and stone, able to feel, able to flow, and also able to rest in something steady. You carry the image of your heart as a garden, not perfect, not finished, but alive, changing, responding to small daily acts of care. You carry the respect for your inner seasons, knowing that numbness once protected you, knowing that thaw will come in its own time. You carry trust in hidden seeds, knowing that effort does not always bloom at once, knowing that growth can be quiet, invisible, and still very real. You carry a gentler view of your own rhythms. You remember that some days you are like the full moon, some days like a thin sliver, and some days you are simply resting in darkness, getting ready to grow again. You carry the practice of lowering the bucket, knowing that in any moment you can bring your attention back to your breath, back to your body, back to a deeper stillness beneath all noise. And you carry the image of the lamp, not perfect, not lightning, just a small steady light that someone somewhere might be grateful to see. As you step onto your own road, you may forget these things. It is natural. The world is loud. Phones ring. Messages arrive. Problems appear. You may feel pulled back into old habits. You may hear yourself speak with irritation. You may catch yourself scrolling mindlessly or worrying for hours about something you cannot control. When that happens, you do not need to scold yourself. You do not need to say, I have lost the path. You can say instead, I have wandered into the busy market again. Then for one breath you step back to the well. You feel the air entering your nose. You feel your chest rising and falling. Just for that moment, I am here right now. This is how the night travels with you into the day. Not as a long sermon you must remember, but as many small returns to your own living body. If you're listening to this while still in bed, you might begin to move your fingers and toes a little. You might roll your shoulders from side to side. You might stretch your arms above your head. You can take your time. There is no rush. You can imagine that each small movement is a way of saying thank you to your body. Thank you to your eyes that see so many things. Thank you to your ears that hear so many sounds. Thank you to your hands that touch and hold and work. Thank you to your feet that carry you through every day. And thank you to your heart that keeps beating through joy and sorrow, through fear and rest, without asking for praise. If you plan to fall back asleep, you can let these movements stay very small. Just gentle shifts to relax any last tension. If you plan to rise for the day, you can sit up slowly, as if you are a plant unfolding from the soil. You can let your head hang a little to release your neck. You can take one last deep breath in and a long, slow breath out, perhaps before you fully return to the tasks of your life. You can choose one simple intention to carry with you, not a big resolution. Something small. It might be, today I will pause for one breath before I answer. Or today I will notice the sky at least once. Or today I will speak to myself a little more kindly than yesterday. You do not need to change everything. You only need to take one gentle step in the direction of understanding and compassion. The stories you have heard tonight are not rules. They are companions. You can remember Fumiko whenever your mind feels stormy. You can remember Ayame whenever you forget that you are more than your roles. You can remember Haru whenever your feelings change quickly. You can remember May whenever you are harsh with yourself. You can remember Riku whenever you feel numb. You can remember Fumio whenever you think you are not growing fast enough. You can remember Ichiro whenever your energy rises and falls. You can remember Gentaro whenever you feel far from peace. And you can remember the lamp by the harbor whenever you doubt that your presence matters. Because it does. Your presence matters to the people you see each day. It matters to the child you once were who still lives inside you. It matters to the world that is always changing, always searching for small, steady lights. So as this long night story comes to an end, know this. You do not leave empty-handed. You leave with your own breath. You leave with your own awareness. You leave with a little more softness toward yourself. You leave with the quiet knowledge that you can pause, even for a moment, and touch something wider than your worries. Whether you now drift deeper into sleep or slowly rise to meet a new day, may you carry a piece of this stillness with you. May you remember again and again that beneath every wave there is a calm lake. Beneath every story a blank page. Beneath every storm a steady lamp. And beneath all your thoughts and feelings there is a clear kind awareness that has never left you, that is with you now. In this breath and in the next. Times even after a long story, the mind is still awake. The body may be tired, the eyes may burn a little, but thoughts keep walking up and down like people pacing a hallway. If you are still awake now, that is all right. Nothing is wrong, nothing is broken. There is no rule that says you must fall asleep at a certain moment. You are simply a human being with a mind that cares a lot. It cares so much that it keeps turning the same questions over and over. Did I say the right thing? Will tomorrow be hard? What if I fail? What if something bad happens? The mind thinks that by repeating these questions it is keeping you safe. It is like a friend who talks too much because it is afraid of silence. Tonight, you do not have to fight that friend. You also do not have to follow every story it tells. You can give it something simple to hold. For a moment, let your attention come back to one place in your body. Perhaps your chest, perhaps your belly, perhaps the feeling of your head resting on the pillow. Choose one, only one. Let that place be your home base. As you breathe in, notice the small movement there. As you breathe out, notice it again. You do not need to change the breath. You only need to stay near it. Thoughts will still come. When they appear, you can treat them like birds that cross your window. You notice them. You do not have to open the window and invite every single bird inside. You can let them pass. If a thought is very loud, you can speak to it kindly. I hear you. You can say inside, "Thank you for trying to protect me. For now you can sit in the next room. I am resting." You might imagine a gentle guardian at your bedroom door. This guardian does not push anything away with anger. It simply says to each worry, "You have spoken enough for today. You may continue tomorrow. For this night, this person needs sleep." The worries nod. They step back. They wait in the hallway. You do not need to resolve them all before you sleep. You only need to put them down for a while. Like Haru setting down his buckets. Like Isamu leaning his rake against the wall at sunset. Like Fumio closing his book and letting the words rest for the night. You are allowed to put things down, even the heaviest ones, for a short time or for a longer time. You can pick them up again in the morning if you really need them. They will not disappear. Life will still be there when you wake, but you will meet it with a body that has rested a little more. That alone is a great gift. Before this night story comes to its final silence, there is one more small tale. It is a simple one. No lakes, no temples, no monks, only a child and a crowded street. In a busy town, there was once a little boy named Sora. Every week his mother took him to the market. There people called out their goods: fresh fish, sweet fruit, bright cloth, new tools. Music played from open doorways. Children laughed and argued. Dogs barked. Carts rattled over the stone. Sora loved this place. He loved the colors, the sounds, the smells. But he was also small. When the crowd grew thick, he sometimes lost sight of his mother. For a few moments he would stand alone in a sea of legs. Voices would swirl around him. He would feel his chest tighten. His eyes would sting. Fear would rise like a wave. In those moments his mind would tell a story. I am lost. I will never find her. I am alone. Then from the other end of the street he would hear a sound. Not a shout. Not a scream. A clear, familiar whistle. His mother had a way of whistling only for him. 2 notes rising and falling. When he heard that sound, he would turn. He would see her hand raised above the heads, waving. He would push gently through the crowd, step by step, until he reached her. She would place her hand on his head. "Here you are," she would say. "I knew you were near. I never stopped looking." After a while, Sora still felt afraid when he lost sight of her. But he also remembered the whistle. He knew that the sound would come, and when it came, he trusted it. He did not need to know the whole map of the market. He only needed to turn toward the sound and move in that direction. Your breath is like that whistle. Your awareness is like that raised hand. The world can feel like a crowded market. Thoughts, feelings, memories, demands, all calling to you at once. Sometimes you lose sight of your own center. You feel small. You feel lost. Your mind tells you stories. I am behind. I am broken. I will never be calm. In those moments, you do not need to argue with every story. You do not need to push through every crowd at once. You only need to listen for the whistle, for the simple sound of your own breathing. In, out. It is quiet, but it is always there. When you notice it, even for one breath, you are turning toward the raised hand of your own awareness. You are not truly lost. You were never truly lost. You only thought you were alone because you could not see over the crowd. Your deeper self, your clear knowing has never stopped looking for you. It never stopped calling you home with each breath. Tonight you have listened for a long time. You have walked through many inner landscapes. Now there is nothing more you must understand. No new ideas you must collect. No extra effort you must make. If you are still awake, you can simply rest in the feeling of being held by your own breath. The mattress supports your body. The room holds the mattress. The night holds the room. And your awareness holds all of it, like the sky holding clouds, like the ocean holding waves, like a mother holding a child who finally stops struggling and lies down to sleep. Your jaw can soften. Your eyes can grow heavy. Your hands can let go of any last tension. You can sink a little deeper into the bed, as if the earth itself is welcoming you back for the length of the night. There is nowhere else you need to go. There is no one else you need to be. Only this. A human being breathing. A small lamp glowing. A quiet well deep and still under all sounds. If sleep comes now, let it take you gently. If it does not come yet, stay with your breath as with a kind friend sitting beside your bed. No pressure, no demands, only presence. In, out, soft, slow. You have walked far enough for one night. You have listened deeply enough for one night. You may rest now. The stories, the teachings, the images will keep working in the soft soil of your being. Like seeds, like rain, like a quiet and endless love.